Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Worldwide Football. As always, I'm your host, Connor Perjuelo, here with my co-host, Matthew Rothman. And today we bring on an episode where it doesn't exactly reflect the weather that is currently outside right now in this wonderful summer season. Unless you live in Maryland, because it's constantly always raining for some very odd reason. And now there's floods all on the streets, and my car is dirty. This has been a bit of a summer of a little depression. I myself am only recovering from an illness that caused me to spend $11 for no reason as my co-host went to go play ball at a facility we've been trying to go to for almost 2 years now, and I never got to go to it while he went to it by himself. At least you had a good time, right, mate?
Yeah, it was a pretty good time. Yeah, I just realized though that how tiring it can be when you play football for 2 straight hours. But yeah, honestly, it just goes to show how tough it is that especially all these, footballers, they play 90 minutes straight, just a halftime in between basically. How crazy it is that happens. But yeah.
And keep in mind, he's only a goalkeeper, but don't worry, buddy. We're going to get that conditioning up to speed going forward. Anyways, as I mentioned, summer of depression means a summer of depression for our respective clubs. The two FCBs are currently not having the most exciting of transfer windows, shall we say. And the FCB that's probably been affected by it the most is the FCB dressed in red and white. I would love to allow our co-host to now spill his feelings and possibly rant about their dead board about how awful they have currently handled the summer so far. So, Matthew, I ask you, with all of the rejections that Bayern have faced so far, and the constant worries about the very, very, very lack of squad depth, because we've seen in this Club World Cup just how terrible your bench is. What is there to look forward to, and what has to be done for Bayern to finally wake up and say, we need to actually sign some players?
Well, there was a whole lot of questions asked, so I could probably go one by one. As in, you know, what Bayern have to do. It's obviously clear they have to sign a left winger that is very starting caliber. They also need, depth behind a winger as well, because given that all they have right now are three wingers, one of them being Gnabry, who only performs in the 2 months that begin with the letter A every year. Besides that, they also need someone to help with the Musiala injury that at the very least is starting caliber for the first 6 months of the season, because Musiala, even though he's out for only 4 months, most likely when he does come back, it's going to be a struggle. So they're going to need someone to at least fill in that position very quickly. They need another center back. I would say they need most likely a backup right back. They need a midfielder. That's so many guys. So I get if Bayern are like, they don't have all the money for that. But at the very least, the main needs they need a starting caliber winger, a starting caliber 10, and another center back. That's what I would say. Um, but, you know, with that has come a whole lot of, rejections, a whole lot of conflicts with the board that have come out in reports, a whole lot of controversy, I guess you could say, a lot of statements made by the board members that are absolutely outlandish, you know, especially when your sporting director comes out and says, right after the Musiala injury, keep in mind that, we learned that we don't have to do a whole lot, in the summer and all that, given how poor the squad depth was in the Club World Cup, given how that Benfica game went when they rotated pretty much everyone, and
You won't
yet,
get a person and they lost.
yeah, they lost, and that first half was easily the worst half I've seen under company by far, with how terrible that attack was. But besides that point, when you look at the squad depth and when you look at company as a manager, I give praise to company tactically, man management wise. He's done a really good job with both of those. He's made Bayern, really fun to watch again. He has done a really good job with the dressing room. He has looked really good against, some of the top opposition, despite having a squad that is not very deep to say. I mean, even when looking at that PSG match
Man, it's about as
from,
deep as a kiddie pool.
yeah, at least like when you do look at that PSG match from the past Saturday, you could say at the very least they did compete very well with
Yeah, the
them.
ideas worked for a second.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, you guys just didn't have that clinicalness.
yeah, clinicalness and Musiala coming off definitely hurt a lot. But my main criticism, I would say, with Company, besides the fact that I think he has done a rather poor job handling the youth, is the fact that it just seems like when he's brought in, I don't know why he doesn't, at the very least, go out and say, I need this player. I at least need something in this position. I need something in that position. Like there's no demands and there's nothing that screams any sort of seriousness about improving the squad depth or improving at least the squad in general. Because as much as people criticize Tuchel for his demands and for a lot of the stuff that he did, at the very least, what Tuchel did really well was he brought out a lot of the issues that us fans we even saw with this Bayern squad, like the fact that the Kimmich and Goretzka pivot does not work, which Company oddly enough decided to try, in a Champions League knockout round in 2025, which unsurprisingly did not work. And along with the fact that you continue to have, the three wingers, Coman, Gnabry, Sane, always playing, no criticism the last few years. Unsurprisingly, that didn't work. And yet you're still stuck in that sort of limbo now that, even though Sane's gone, you still have both Gnabry and Coman, both of whom are on, high wages, one of whom doesn't even want to leave. The second one's literally in the hospital every 5 games at this point. So when
I
it
thought he
comes
was
to
supposed to
that,
go to Saudi. I wasn't sure what went wrong with that.
yeah, I was curious about that because there were conflicting reports with Coman. I just don't know if it was because, he actually never stated he wanted to leave, or if it's because, the offer itself wasn't great for either club or player. But regardless, it seems like he's going to stay unless a suitable offer does end up coming, especially given the poor depth that they do have on the wings right now. But besides that point, it does bring up a whole thing about, with Company, he just hasn't been able to. It just seems like he's a puppet in this situation where, if he does everything right, if he doesn't complain, the board won't sack him. If he doesn't give in to these demands, the board won't criticize him before a big knockout round against Real Madrid. If he doesn't give in to these demands, the board won't completely lambast him, 4 months before the season ends. Basically, like that. The complete opposite they did with Tuchel.
But you have to think that he's also having to lose some kind of faith in this board. Think about all the players that I've already said you. The biggest one of the biggest German talents in recent years said no in favor of playing for Liverpool. When Bayern, in my opinion, positioning wise, because I don't know where the hell they're going to play Wirtz at Liverpool. At Bayern, at least it was clear where he would play, or at least somewhat clear where he would play, whether it was on the right or through the middle, because you guys probably would look to push Musiala out wide. You guys don't have Musiala for until 2026, most likely. Nico Williams said no to you. You guys don't want to pay for Luis Diaz, but I mean, because who the fuck would? Leal's too expensive. You clearly mentioned Mitoma isn't the guy to push you further forward. Who's really left?
Yeah, so when it came from Marcelo Moeller on Twitter, when it came to players, oddly enough, this came out 6 hours ago via Sky Sport Germany. And all he said with the transfer news, Rodrigo currently not a topic at Bayern because he himself has not stated that he wants to leave. Bayern are quote unquote still interested in Nkunku, although he's apparently not a hot topic. Xavi Simons also has had talks with Bayern, but he's not a hot topic. And then they're not interested in Rashford. So I don't know what they're going to get, but literally this board, it's like either they're rejected or they don't want a player. There's no in between at this point, which personally I don't get it at all. Like, surely there should have been some plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D type of stuff. which at the very least, Abel and the whole supervisory board should have agreed on. But yeah, like it just looked like, as you said, they went all in for Verts. They got caught with their pants down. He goes to Liverpool, and now it's like, oh, now we don't know what to do. We're
Yeah,
screwed.
unfortunately, your board talks too much at interviews talking about the just absolutely
And
lying.
also, my main thing too, even if they got Verts, hypothetically, I highly doubt they would have done anything, in other key positions that we still need. Like, we don't just need one attacker, even before the Musiala injury. We needed at least two attackers, one being a left winger. And even if, like, you do get Verts in, I highly doubt they would have gone another winger or another attacker at the
I
very
honestly
least.
think that if you
I
guys
highly doubt they would have
sign
gone a
anything
right
else.
back or anyone in the back line. I highly doubt they would have gotten anyone else in the midfield. So, although that could have saved us, at the end of the day, I don't trust this board at all. They've not proven anything in recent years
It
for
makes me laugh at
anyone
the
to
fact
trust
that the
them.
Bundesliga champions, after receiving the payout from winning the title, keep in mind, Liverpool won the Premier League and they went out and signed three guys. You guys have won the Bundesliga and you signed, yeah,
Only two guys on free. It's just Bischoff and Taub, but that was it. Bischoff
but
was signed in January. Taub, everyone knew was coming to Bayern, if we're being completely honest. But yeah, I mean, that's literally all they've gotten. And keep in mind, the thing is that people say Taw's a replacement for Dyer, and, I was on that boat. But keep in mind, Taw was supposed to come to Bayern last year for De Ligt. So why is it that now he's a replacement for Dyer when last year he was supposed to be that replacement for De Ligt? So
regardless,
basically, all you've done is just sell a player for profit. You bring in a player for free as a replacement for a guy who's already leaving. So basically, you already netted -1 of what you need at center back. So literally, you have to sign another center back too.
and the fact that they're still talking about, is it the Kim rumors dimed out yet or no?
So the
He's
thing
in
with Kim
or
is
he's
that,
going.
from all reports, is that it depends. Like, if there's a suitable offer that for both Bayern and Kim himself, then he could be open to leave. However, the only way Bayern supposedly sign a center back is if Kim does leave. So they're doing this stupid stuff again, where once again it's going to be a net one loss at center back, regardless, over the past 2 years. Which,
Never thought I'd see the day where my club has more center back depth than your club.
and what's more annoying is that, like, as much as I can criticize company about the use of the youth and all that stuff, like, when it comes to how this board's been handling it, like, honestly, it shouldn't be any surprise with how many youth players are just like, nah, I don't want to be here. I mean, even Yildiz just a few years ago, the reason he left not only was because of not getting game time, was because there was no assurances of his development. And people can say, oh, these players are too young, they shouldn't, be playing all this much. But keep in mind, when Pavlovic was brought up, he was 18. When Musiala was brought up, he was 17. These players, people could say they're too young and all that. At the very least, they deserve a chance, because when you look at the depth they have at left back right now with Davies injured, it's just Guerrero. Ito's not coming back until 2026. Davies still won't come back until, at the very least, like late October, early November. So if Guerrero's all you have at left back, why aren't you playing Osnu? If, like, all you have on the wing is, Olise right now and some
You know,
question
Osman,
marks,
one of the guys
why
that
isn't
are
Koro
actually
starting?
considering to leave as well.
Yeah, supposedly. I think it was to Getafe, I think, I want to say, at least that was the rumor. But
Well, Spanish like
yeah, once again, it's like this board, when you look at it in general, from what they had even just 10 years ago, because people can talk about the treble, sextuple and all that. But if I'm being honest, even that squad, there were a bit of questions that Flick literally, when he came in, he just put like a bunch of tape all over those cracks for the time being. But there are still issues there, even, that we even saw after, Thiago left, and a year later when, they signed all these guys at the end of the transfer window in 2020, and then none of them panned out. So the thing is, the squad depth's been a big issue for years. And the fact that this board sits there and can just like act in complete obliviousness that Goretzka could still be as good as the 2020 Goretzka, or Gnabry, he could still be as good as the 2022 Gnabry or whatever. It's just complete nonsense, and it's just why this board's been going downhill. So to answer your question, I don't know what this team does. I don't know what their plan is. Like I said, if they got Verts, would I celebrate? Yes, but at the same time, if they got Verts, we all know they would have neglected the rest of their positions. So let's not beat around the bush about that. But at the end of the day, they didn't get Verts, and at this point, it wouldn't surprise me if they just get absolutely underwhelming pieces to fill the needs that they have.
Would you be shocked too if they literally got absolutely no one?
I wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, supposedly they're trying to get Voltamata, but it looks like Stuttgart don't want to sell him to us.
I thought it was already almost set in stone that he was going.
So they did agree to personal terms, but Stuttgart apparently wants 60 million all in, which Bayern don't want to do, and I agree with it. They shouldn't do that. He's not worth 60 million. Like
Same
in no
reason
world.
why the same reason you guys are trying to say no to well, not no to Diaz, but no way you guys the same thing, and this is where I'm gonna touch into Barca. The same line of reason why I don't want my club, Barcelona, to sign Luis Diaz. To pay damn near 80 million for a 29-year-old winger is balderdash. It doesn't make any sense. And it's way too much money. I'm sorry. I like Diaz. He's good, but he's way too much. I said this on the TikTok is already. I want players that are great or want to be great or have the potential to be great. Or I'm chilling with Lamine Yamal being the best youngster in world football at the moment. But yeah, we do definitely need someone on the left. We made the right decision because we have finally had the balls to stand up to the shaitan and tell his ass, you're either going to sit on your ass and not play the World Cup, or you can leave. And he doesn't want to leave. And since we already extended Chesney, it is very, very clear that Flick does not rate the guy. I did hear a report that's saying that the two of them were meant to have a meeting. Something along the lines of literally what I just said. Flick will make this guy his third choice. And even so, he might even strip him of his captaincy. Who will be captain? I don't know. If there's anyone on the team that I would love to be captain, give it to Rafinha.
Yeah, I think he would do a pretty good job as the captain. But I think
Unfortunately,
it's just I just find it so ironic the fact that in Flick's last game managing Germany, like I think Germany conceded what 3 or 4 to Japan, and Ter Stegen was at fault for at least half of them. So I just find it ironic the fact that you know he comes to Barcelona, Flick, and then like immediately Ter Stegen plays poorly, and Flick's like, "Not get out of here."
nah, he knew it. He knew it was him getting injured was the catalyst to our great season. Because when he came back, it all went to shit. Not all of it. We still won. I'm just saying. He came back and he was trying to immediately start games again. Sorry about that. But yeah, no. So thank goodness that we finally had the balls to take Joan Garcia directly from our city rivals. Big middle finger to Espanyol fans, all three of you, because I don't even know if any of you exist. And of course, the whole Nikos deal that I went over with before. Whether or not Barcelona were in the 1-1 signing, because you could chalk it up to Deco being incompetent. You could chalk it up to just another one of Laporta's good old-fashioned lies to the media. Are we back in 1-1? No.
No.
Why? I don't know. I've been hearing that for years, man. I've been hearing that for years. Literally, if you're a Barca fan, you become so involved in every aspect of the footballing business world, and you just think to yourself, damn, no matter how much better we get, we are still so crippled because of what happened in the previous 10 years, and of course, La Liga's dumbass salary caps. But luckily we got rid of some names. We got rid of Fati. I don't know if Victor will stay. I believe De Jong, if he chooses to cut his wages, I'm not sure if that's set in stone yet. And if possible, a potential sale of Araujo to Juventus. I heard something about a swap deal. I don't think I would love Yildiz at the club, but I don't know if that'll happen. I do think
Juve
though.
would be pretty dumb if they did that. Like Yildiz is one of their most promising players, probably arguably one of their top three players at the moment. I don't see a world why they would get rid of him.
True, but then again, they're dumb enough to do that solely for the basis
That is
of
true.
defenders, and they do because their defense is like ass. And Araujo fits their system way more than he fits our system. Luckily, Christensen is staying on, which is good because I don't know why there were reports of him, them saying that they want to get rid of him. On his day, when Christensen is fully fit, he's a starter at any club in the world. If anything, I think it would be beneficial if you were to start perhaps over Kubarsi or maybe even Inigo Martinez. Why? Because Kubarsi clearly got way too tired towards the latter parts of the season and he started becoming more and more mistake prone. As expected, he is a child. For Inigo Martinez, I love the guy. But if I'm being real, the only reason why he's still a crucial part of the team is because he's left-footed. We don't have any other left-footed center back. In a Flick system, it's very crucial to have a left-footed center back, especially when it comes to playing at the back. Now, I'm not slating Inigo Martinez at all. He's been great. I'm glad that he's staying on for one more season. But I know that the eventual decline will come, and we're going to need to eventually find someone to replace him. But for the sake of Kubarsi and his safe development when it comes to, managing game time and all that, I would say keep an experienced veteran who's also good at, playing out from the back, strong in defense, and let's keep Christensen. He had the surgery. I say we can keep him on, and then our defense will definitely be in a lot more better condition. Because on the games that he played when he came back, he looked great. Didn't miss a step. Looked tailor-made, like putting a glove on in Flick's system. Araujo, you don't get that with Araujo. I would not mind at this point if they sell him for a considerable price. And I say considerable because my club is so ass when it comes to selling players for what they're actually worth. Would I still like another backup fullback? Yes. I don't think Ronaldo's happening anymore. Of course, the whole Nico situation with, the way he just absolutely just extended his contract out of nowhere for another 10 years blew everyone's mind. The fact that, we were literally talking with the guy, we were nearly on personal terms. He offered himself, and his agent offered himself to come to Barcelona. The fans were defacing his mural, disrespecting him, broke into his car, all of that. And he decides to stay. It's almost like what happened last season or last year. The thing is, I know for a fact that we would have found some way, especially when it comes to the one-to-one, when it comes to more players being sold, it was going to happen. Now we have to settle for the low risk, high reward option, which is Rashford, which I don't hate. After all, we saw this with Aubameyang, we saw this with Luke De Jong, we saw this with Traore for a very brief period. I don't mind we bring on Rashford on loan. I know that he'll be a wonderful asset. I know that Flick could help get the best of him. It's just the fact that I know that when he leaves, because he's not staying there for long, we still have to solve the issue of who the hell are we going to sign long-term on the left? I keep seeing names like Rafa Leao, which is very controversial just based on his attitude and his ethic and whether or not he can fit flick ball. And of course, you have the really weird ones like Neymar back and Messi.
What?
That's honestly just talk. Luis Diaz, because for some reason Deco just really likes the guy and he constantly fawns over people that he's already friends with when it comes to agents. But yeah, at the moment, we're kind of in a similar position. The difference is that on our current lineup, we have a guy that Rafinha, who was coming off probably the best season of his entire career, and he's still there, and he still clears all of your wingers. So maybe a season. I wouldn't say it's a season of depression for me per se. The most depressing part was the Nico Williams rejection and the way it happened, and the fact that
At the very least, Barca has depth at their positions and can bring in pretty much anything from the youth
Oh
ranks to
yeah,
play
and
them.
that's another thing. We actually know how to develop our youth players,
Well, you play your youth too.
and that too. Even as much as I slate Koeman, he helped bring in a lot of youth guys. Xavi added
Pedri.
on top of that, and now Flick pretty much used it to win titles. Yep. Even duds like Gerard Martin, he made him look like a somewhat decent left back.
Hmm.
So yeah, our clubs currently aren't going through the greatest transfer windows, but hey, there's still a lot to
Bayern
get.
more so, because
Fine.
at least Barca can say that they've signed players like the Bargy, siblings.
Yeah, we
But
signed the Bargy siblings, we signed Rooney, we signed from Copenhagen, and we signed his little brother. Both are very developmental talents, but apparently very decent. So we'll see how that works in that regard. Definitely am excited to see how they do. And of course, we signed a keeper, which is like the
yep,
biggest yes ever. So we'll see what happens going down. Thank you guys for joining another episode of Worldwide Football and for continuing to put up with my illness. I got COVID, so I am kind of getting up right now, and I actually really need to take my meds. Anyways, hopefully the next video we make, I'll feel better. Tune in for the Club World Cup final this Sunday. It's gonna be shit. Matt, I might
jeez,
need you to take over the outro.
yeah, just take tune in at the Club World Cup final on Sunday. Should be a pretty good game. Personally, I have PSG winning. I'm sure Connor would say the same thing. Oddly enough, that's also my 22nd birthday. Happily, but also sadly. Anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time here on Worldwide
Follow
Football.
us on all our social media on the link below for more information. And we'll see you we'll see you guys next time.